Okay, let's jump into it. Um, Start off with DXY here, and as you can see, look, it's still holding in there. We are starting to sort of firm up this little sort of short-term rising support. Where we go, we've got one here, we got two, and obviously a little bit of a bounce up off that one, sort of coming into the close of the session overnight. But the main one was just this grind that was sort of pushing up through here, and it was some pretty interesting sort of corresponding sort of price action as this was happening, like because we saw obviously gold got a little bit of a sort of push yesterday. I assume I'm attributing mainly just to those sort of US troops that were killed, and sort of people speculating what the US's response might have been for that. I'll get on to gold in a moment, but yeah, it was certainly quite a sort of strong sort of push up to the top side here. But if we just stick on DXY and just look at the chart of what's happening here, we're seeing that this sort of resistance zone through here, they've unable, like, yes, they got this little one push up over the top over here, but it's been respected a number of times. And even with that little push up there, you can see that the unable to sort of close above this little resistance zone resulted obviously in that little swift kick in the face and sort of knocking it back down. So in sort of short term, kind of medium term kind of outlook with it all, you are seeing a little bit of a sort of ascending triangle setting up, which obviously a break of the top side of this will give you a sort of bit of a measured move out to the top side here, where we go. So, pretty much something to this effect. That would be pretty much your technical sort of measured move price target out the top there. Were you to get a break of this top side here, I don't think you're going to get this, but we've got so much news coming out this week, and at the moment, as I said, sort of while it's still sort of above in this sort of upper range of the grind, it's still a plausible outcome with it all. So certainly not to sort of say that it's about to break down. Yeah, we're still, as you can see, mainly just moving straight sideways. Like you can't say, yes, okay, we're going to go for the next level yet, because obviously as we get up to the top of it, it's just getting smacked straight back down. And obviously likewise, as we're sort of coming up through here, these are higher lows. So obviously you look at how the price came into this area, so it was obviously moving up. This is the consolidation. So it means that in a sort of textbook technical form of this kind of stuff, it leads towards continuations, the sort of the higher possibility or higher probability outcome for consolidation after a positive lead in, and likewise, obviously, if we lead in with a downside move. That's not to sort of say that it will happen, but these are the sort of marks that I said, last week, over the weekend, a couple of times, that I want to see it break these zones here. They're the sort of two parts that I'm sort of saying that, that'll give us the direction. We've got so much news coming this week. We got jolts tonight. We got, consumer confidence. I think tomorrow, what have we got going on? It's just such a big week for it all. This is like purely just on the US dollar side of things at the moment, but you got jolts consumer confidence tonight. We do have a little bit of China data that could obviously affect things a little bit. Obviously not part of DXY, but US dollar strength. And then sort of moving on, we've got ADP, FOMC, we got NFP, we got the BOE. Like, it's just an absolute massive week for news. So really, there's a lot of things that could sort of give this a bit of direction here. But I think sort of ultimately, as I said, these are the two levels you want to sort of see it go up and through. We could almost sort of drag this up, and actually we won't drag it, we'll put this one down here and call this a bit of a tighter range. So we know the buyers are here. It's a bit of a support zone there. So, because if we sort of take this away for a moment, this was just wick area here. So this could be an early indication if you get a close down under here. Obviously for me, confirmation is under that wick. So under sort of 102.70. But certainly if we get a close under 103, like round number there, and also obviously you don't want just a little close underneath this zone. You want a substantial, like, a couple of cents down at least. So call it a close under 103 where we've got this alert set up. I would say that's an early indicator that certainly we're going to fill the wick, test the bottom side of this sort of, I guess you can't, it's kind of a range, I suppose. This is really more the range here, but the the outer wicks of this range certainly will get a touch up, and then obviously you've got a potential to sort of break back down to the downside there. We did have this sort of main sort of rising support sort of coming through, which it seems to just be dancing around, excuse me, at the moment. So we did break down, tried to get back in, broke down again, tried to get back in. So it's feeling a little bit obsolete, this one, but by all accounts, it still does look, even if we do sort of have this coming to the top side here, you need to break this sort of rising resistance, which we could see marked here and marked here. That's another sort of potential topside resistance, which obviously these sort of things, if it comes in here or comes in here, are corresponding with your horizontals as well. Yes, the measured move does take you a little bit higher here, but that's just the measured move for that little ascending triangle break. You really sort of, you've got a little bit of sort of overhead resistance with the horizontals through here at sort of like 104 to 104.20, and then 104.50, obviously sort of holding a little bit of sort of resistance there as well. Look, anything can happen. These things can just blow. If it gets the right sort of conditions with all the news coming out, it could blow through the top over here. But at the moment, to me, it seems like this is a little bit of a weakening of the move. Like you would have wanted these ones to push a little bit higher to sort of show some sort of, sustained growth. But obviously, I mean, the same sort of thing was happening through this first grind range here. But this really sort of, was putting in the new high. This was just a consolidation. This feels a little bit, almost a bit rounding to me. But, we've had two attempts at the top through here, smack back down. Yeah, it's not really too much more to take. I mean, we've got our zones lined out. I would expect probably a little bit more of a sort of push down. Certainly if we take out the wick from overnight, I think we're going to be seeing sort of some USD weakness coming through Asia. So we'll have to sort of wait to sort of see how that one sort of plays out. Flip across to Aussie, because Aussie's finally getting some sort of little break north. We've been here before, so you can't get too excited at the moment. But certainly, as we see, like, this is what I was mapping out. I said, look, out the top here, another test, come back down, tested the top side. Obviously, decided to go whoop, right back down the bottom over here. But as I mentioned on the video the other day, this, actually, it was on the other Aussie chart. Is very reminiscent of this price action here where we tried to break out the first time as well. This was a large one that was coming through the second half of 23. And we had that little attempt to get out, and look, we've closed out the top side here. Oh, here we go. No, smash it back down. And then it sort of started to come through. And as you can see on this one here, second and third attempt. So, well, second attempt a close outside. The second attempt actually got smacked back and didn't manage to close outside. But the third attempt, bang, retest topside, bang, and away we went. And if you remember these moves at the time as well, these were very deep pullbacks just to get out of this. These were 61% pullbacks as well. If you look at this move here, that's a 61% of that move off the lows, came right back, boom, and then obviously went away. And then again, so if you look at the top over this, I should probably have to put it on the daily with this one here. Of that actual breakout move, where are we, from the bottom here, as you can see, this move here as well came back 61% of that. So it really did work it hard and sucked out everything it could down the bottom to sort of before it actually got that breakaway. So, not to sort of say that, everything's going to be repeating the same, but certainly if you look at this, if I flip onto the daily for 1 second, this is quite a substantial daily close, which we obviously haven't had through this whole sort of grind period here. So, every time it's tried to come back up here, look at this, every single time it's been whacked down, whacked down, whacked down, whacked down. Now we've actually got a little bit of a close. We've got retail sales coming out in 45 minutes or so. It's 10:43 here now, local time, so, just over 45 minutes. That could be a catalyst for Aussie, particularly if we get a higher print. I think that could give us a little bit of a push and a shove up here. Obviously, we've got this wick over here. If we get down onto the 4 hour again, we've got this wick out the top area here at 2020. where, we've been here before a couple of times through last week. So, you can't say that, look, we're definitely going. But it is leaning in the side. The fact that it's come through this falling resistance, it's had that, first close outside, smack back down like that previous example I gave. We've got through the top side here. It's respected the bottom side, the top side of this sort of falling resistance, and it is moving forward through now. So, if these are your breakout candles, it's put in a higher high. So I think sort of what we could sort of safely kind of do to see if this is going to continue a little bit is put in the idea that this could be a bit of a sort of rising support, a little bit of a breakthrough here. And I mean, we don't really have anything to sort of gauge off this one here as to sort of where your top sides might be. I think realistically, if we do get some sort of AUD, Aussie positive data, and we do see a bit of a sell-off in US dollar, we are going to see potentially, obviously a bit of a push with Aussie, but we are going to see some selling coming in from 66.40 to 66.50. I imagine this is going to be a bit of an area where we're going to get smacked back down. We could always sort of retest the top side of this area through here, and as I said, this would line up with potentially a bit of this sort of rising channel, and then sort of go through here. And obviously, whether we go through that, that's another story, and that's more sort of USD data dependent, whether we get that actual sort of continuation, because obviously was quite a strong. You can see here the reactions from this area when they did come. Bounced 1.64%, bounced 1.25%, 80 points, 109 points. They were strong reactions, and I think equally we're probably going to see some pretty strong reactions. Maybe not necessarily equivalent. I don't think there's any sort of rule of thumb to sort of say that, okay, because it reacted that much one direction, it's going to see the same on the other. But I think sort of there's going to be people that obviously we're trying to push this and hold this level. I think equally they're going to be seeing some other sort of drops coming down through here as well. Must have dropped bottom. Yeah, that was an alert from our top side move, bottom side move. Sorry. But yeah, look, I mean, in the short term, this is on the 4 hour. We've got a little bit of room to move on the RSI. We are sort of seeing a small little continuation here coming outside with a little back test already, and we'll flip that 4 hour candle. What have we got? So we got 2 hours left on the 2 and a bit hours left on the 4 hour candle. So certainly time. If it can, it's flipped now. If it can sort of push out, if it can take out 2020. I think another 20-point move to the top side is pretty much a sort of a pretty easy sort of bet with it all. We'll flip across to gold, because gold, this is what I was mentioning yesterday, it had that sort of, get on the lower time frame, we can see where we sort of started. So, of course, these ones don't really give the, gaps, I don't think. Some of these charts, this is an Oanda chart. They just sort of link the prices together. So if we look at yesterday's open, so this is yesterday's open here. So this was actually a gap up. So it actually opened about 24 or so yesterday. So this part here would be the gap. But as you can see, it came back down, filled the gap pretty much immediately within the next hour, and then punched through with a couple of higher highs. Interesting sort of point with gold here at the moment, though, because as I mentioned over the weekend review as well, 40.40 is the level to beat in my eyes. And that I said, look, I've said I'm sort of short-term bullish. Well, I'm just bullish on gold basically. I do think we were going high. I didn't think we were going to sort of necessarily come to the bottom side here. But we are sort of seeing a couple of things. So if we drag this across here now, we can see that this was respected a number of times, the falling resistance. We popped through here, and as you can see, like this is why I chart things and I call them, as I say, this is where the sellers are going to come in. This is why we have this arrow here. And if you watch me sort of put it on the video, I said, look, this is where the sellers are going to come. And where did they come? Bang, bang, bang. They came right there. I'm not talking sort of time here. The fact that it was, next to it like that means nothing. I'm talking the actual price. And as you can see, bang, the price came in right in this zone, because we know the sellers are here. We've seen it before. You've got a couple of sort of segments, the horizontal, you've got this sort of falling resistance. The fact that it was allowed to sort of push up through here, I think is quite good, but you got to look at this sell down afterwards. Like, how keen were they to sell this? This dropped, this was on a 30-minute candle. 30-minute time frame chart, and it dropped like 16 bucks. That was quite a sort of sell-off, particularly after that move just prior, because you can see it gave that nice little shunt. This was around sort of around sort of US Open time. And yeah, it really sort of hammered up through there. So look, for me at the moment, obviously it's still mainly sideways. You can't sort of say we're breaking out till we get above this 40-40 zone that I've been mentioning. But you know, obviously you want to be sort of hanging out this end if you're going to be sort of favoring a breakout to the top side here. So you know, as long as sort of it can sort of hold up around this sort of 30 zone, I think it's worth at least another shot. The fact that it broke through this sort of falling resistance, even though it got smashed on the nose, you know, you could see it like these ones perfectly to the cent, all matched up. This one was allowed to go through. Even had a little second attempt in that sort of into sort of US session close. So you know, if we get that break of that rising sort of medium term, short term support that we suggest sort of called out on DXY, that could be something that at least sort of gets us and pushes us back up into this top end here. I've said a couple of times, look, I generally only ever give gold about a $5 range on average in Asia session. Like I just don't think it's a big mover for Asia session. Particularly, I mean, look, we saw a little bit of a grind up through yesterday, but as you can see, the size of these candles, it's just grind, 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 grind. And then, you know, US sessions or US sort of like volume coming in were flying. You know, this has gone from 28 to, not 38 or 37, 37 and a half. So a $10 move here, $16 move back down. Like, you know, that's where the volume is. Asia, you get a bit of a grind. So, you know, we could potentially see a little bit of a grind up along here. But as I keep saying, 40-40, 40-40, 20-40 is what I'm sort of looking for. If we do get above that, look, we could be sort of seeing a little bit of, this isn't a full range. It's just, an area where the sellers have been before, buyers have been before, and we saw the sellers match them up there as well. So potentially, if you're sort of like wanting to add to these positions here, if we get a breakthrough 40-40, we could expect some reaction here. As we've seen, buyers were trying to hold it here. As it gave way, they used that same level to sell it back down. So it stands to reason that you could see something. It's not a super strong level, like we haven't seen it sort of touched up repeatedly, but it could present a little bit of a sort of a sell down. Could give us a bit of a back test area here to 38, and then if we break it on a second move, that would be your confirmation, and then that's when you'd be looking up towards your 56 area. That's the sort of play I think with gold in the short term. Obviously, you got to get through 40. That's the first sort of key sort of movement here. But if you go through 40 and you sort of see a little bit of a sell down from that 43, I think look for a little bit of a basing around 38. If we could see a basing around 38, and certainly once it goes through 43 for a second time, of course, if it does, but this is the thing. If it starts playing out like this, that's your confirmation. That's your key. You jump on there, and then you got a nice little $10 range or $10 move up until that next zone, or $12 or something like through there, depending obviously where you get in, what you call your triggers and everything. But yeah, certainly I think it's at the moment it's sort of favoring a little bit more of an upside move. We broke this. Well, not that one. We broke this falling, sort of rising support. It's interesting when these things almost match up to exactly the same angle. But as you can see through here, again, it's trying to sort of move up through this. So let's just see if we can make a channel or anything. Could be some of a channel here. I mean, you got kind of like from the connection down here, connection here, connection here. This obviously doesn't favor any early breaks. Again, $5 range through Asia could give it a little bit of a grind sideways before an attempt to move up here. But yeah, this is all just obviously sort of just planning out. I think the main thing is to look to take out those 37, 38 areas from overnight, 40 obviously being the key one. And then sort of I'll be setting some alerts actually here. I think that's a fairly good sort of plan of attack and something that I'll be looking to add to gold longs along these if we do sort of get this little play out happening here. All right, so tick along. We got copper. And copper back up in it. As I sort of said, I'm still sort of targeting this top area over here, this 394, which I've been mentioning it a few times. We've got a little bit of a sort of resistance area up over here. Not, if we jump onto a 4 hour, might have a bit of a better view of it all. But you can certainly see this, falling support that was coming through here. Let's drag this across. I don't think I'd really call it that because I mean it was respected here, but you have this top one, and this I think that's more important to focus to get above. I wouldn't call it that sort of big chunky thing. I don't know why or how I sort of came up with that number, but as you can see, we've got the alert set up here. We go through sort of 390 or 391 for a sort of round number. This point over here. I think that's pretty much you sort of move up towards this price target here. So as I said, last couple of sessions, just recapping this as well. This is because, as I said, I call these things as a sort of trading. We had the sharper turn. We had sort of a bit more of an easing coming through here. We had a negative divergence at the time. I think this is on the daily we saw this and called it. As you can see, negative divergences. This is why I go on and on about these ones because I think they're such a great indicator. Coming down through this bottom area here, you could see it was only slight, but it was certainly picking it differently coming through here. We had a break, we had a retest of the breakout area, and then subsequent higher high, and away it went. And this is how, particularly if you want to sort of spend your time sort of picking the bottom of trends and trying to get reversals, you've got to know how these things break and when to look for sort of confirmations, when to look for fake outs, these kind of things. Because, as I said here, we've got, from that break point, we've got near 4% move to the top side here. And as I said, I still think that we're going to get a touch up over here. So that's almost 5% move in about a week or so. So that's a good move on sort of on copper, and obviously coming in line with Aussie strength there as well. Well, Aussie strength. Not okay. Maybe I'll take that part back. Not really Aussie strength, but keeping Aussie in the game, keeping Aussie from completely falling apart. I guess that's Aussie's strength at the moment, not being completely decimated. It's not really sort of in sort of bullish mode, but we will see. As I said, we got that data around 35 minutes. That's the first part for the week. We got CPI tomorrow as well, so that's really the one that I'm watching for Aussie to sort of see what will happen with that there. But so we're still moving along here with copper. If we do get this push up here, as I said, this is the area, obviously I've got it marked out. This is where I think it's coming. I've got the arrow. I think you've got the bottom side of this sort of previous channel that it was in. I think that will offer some resistance. We've got this larger sort of resistance zone coming through here. I think this is a weekly one if we had it marked out. Yeah. So we got this weekly sort of resistance zone. So I think that there's a good chance that we sort of may see a little bit of a sort of a sell back through here. Though in saying that, this pullback in the early part of this year has really sort of given it a chance to sort of chill, think about their things. It's given the RSI a chance to sort of cool off a little bit. If we sort of see this really push through, particularly if this week, falls in favor of closing quite strong. So if we see US dollar sell off, we're going to see copper finish. Is this going to push up? And if we get a close up in this area, a close above, say, above 95, I think would be good. 395. If you get a close with copper above 395, that's going to be very strong. Because as I said, this is the thing. This is what we say. The same stuff over and over again. Here's this long sort of falling resistance. Here's the breakout point. This is the gray area here. We can see it coming through the line, broke out, came back, retested. Where to retest? Exactly at that breakout point. Punched on here. Unable to sort of go through for the continuation. As you can see, those weekly closes are a little bit weak. Came back down. Same area again. Breakout point. This is where the market's valuing it. This is sort of where sort of like whoever's driving this market is saying, yep, give us another shot here. I'll buy it up again. This will be a third attempt on a weekly to come through this area. If you get a strong close, and if we see a sort of sell-off with US dollar, look at this. That's your breakdown. That's your breakout here, and that means you'll be starting to get a subsequent high. that means you can officially start to go along these lines here. It's on a bit fatter because it's a obviously a high time frame move. This is on the weekly at the moment. We could be starting to look at something like this, and that is a big turnaround. That means that sort of like if you close up at 390, you click onto your new week, little back test kind of thing. That means we're going up. I mean, that lines up for me pretty well with 410. Little thing. I mean, as I said, that's what just happened there? But obviously you want to sort of see the things to confirm these moves. But at the moment, the RSI has got enough to support it. It's come back down a little bit. It can go boom, not looking. You can go here, back up to this zone. With price, obviously sort of pushing through a little bit more. If we get a weekly close here, it's not going to happen like 2 seconds later, and it's not going to go bang straight up. But this is a weekly time frame, so things move in a weekly sort of setting. 2-3 weeks, we could potentially be seeing some sort of new upward channel sort of forming with copper here, and that is quite good for risk because people are only sort of buying this stuff as they're sort of going to be able to use it. So, certainly some upside movements. I mean, again, this is just sort of planning ahead. These are the thoughts, but this is the idea that, if we get a close, we got to see where this week closes. But if this week sort of closes up around that sort of 395 area, I think that's pretty much we're looking at a sort of move up to 415 or 410. Yeah, 410 because you got these sort of body fills over here, so bottom side of this range. So a safe bet, I guess, would be the price target there. Let's put it in. Yeah. That's your price target on a strong close this week. All right, cool. And flip across, we got China. Still on the weekly here, aren't we? So we're seeing it actually push back down to its lows here. If you look at these things, like, and again, I don't normally work on weeklies and that, like, it's good to have a good overview of it all. But certainly, as you can see, we had that failed rejection, which I called at the time of a breakout of this consolidation box. Came back in, tried to fire back up to it all. This was the area, though, this red line, this resistance, this 719 area. I said, look, it's got to get outside that and close outside that to really show that this was a back test and we're moving higher. At the moment, if you look at this so far as a weekly, it's up, 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 up. This one here this is what's called a hanging man. It's basically sort of like, sell down, came back up. That's your second effort. And generally, they favor a push back down. Like it's a top signal. And if this is 1, 2, 3 weeks up, top signal, you'd expect possibly a little bit of continued failure down here. If we take out the weekly lows, so let's put a little thing. Your weekly low with a flip. If we come back down onto a lower time frame, so the 4-hour, yeah, as you can see, this is my little chart of my little sort of direction over the weekend. I said we come back up here. You need to break through this area, but potentially if you fail here, you're going to be coming back down over here. I'd like to sort of see it down underneath the 7178. Well, basically this little sort of area through here. That for me would sort of say, okay, you're coming down. These little dribble areas here like this, generally sort of, there's two types of these things where you see these little body candles. They'll either sort of go dribble, 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 and then sort of go like sort of dribble, 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 and then go boom, like this. It's not so much if you look at these things, there's two ways that these can play out. Sort of thing. So you can get like a little curved bottom with smaller moves like this if you have the right candles sort of forming up with it all. But in my experience, there's the other side of it all where it doesn't have this nice rounded bottom, but it's actually like dribble, 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 and then just goes bang down the bottom over here. So I mean, obviously this is a 4-hour candle, but we are seeing it, even as I'm charting this, breaking the low of that next candle. So, I think I'm still in the camp. Obviously, all my arrows are pointing down. This is an area which I've sort of identified as the sell area, which they need to get above. They've got a couple of attempts up here, even this last little push up here and coming back down. So I think, yeah, if we get down underneath there, that'll be a nice little confirmation that we're probably going a little bit lower, or at least back down into this overall grind range. But yeah, I wouldn't be too bullish on any sort of China moves. Well, I guess USD against China moves. I think the yuan will strengthen up, i.e., this chart will be coming down. All right, so look, that's pretty much it from me. As I said, just flip across here. Of course, the DXY isn't on quite yet. We're seeing Aussie move up a little bit over here. Um, yeah, so we'll see what happens in 25 minutes when we got the retail sales out. All right, that's it from me.